Ghana's so different from home. We drove with the mission president to the mission home, which is about like a 4-hour drive along the coast to the Cape Coast mission home. And just seeing things for the first time, so much sort of poverty and just different. It's so hard to explain. Animals everywhere and just farmland and jungles and palm trees and the beach, and everything was just very different. And when we got to the mission home, we were assigned to where we were going to go to our first area. And I was called to serve, and my first area was called Kwamo, which was in Kumasi. So I was in the mission home for about an hour. Then they put us on a bus up north. And Kumasi is about a 6-hour drive north of Cape Coast. So we got on the bus, and I was so tired, but I remember being so tired, but I couldn't sleep because just looking out the window and seeing everything, and we would just drive from village to village. But like in between villages was just dense jungle. Like you couldn't see very far. It's just trees and trees and trees and bushes, and it was sort of intense feeling. I remember one of my first funny cultural experiences was when the bus stopped for a bathroom break, and I had to go really bad, but everyone just got off the bus and they just started going to the bathroom right off the side of the road. And I remember being so scared and thinking like, whoa, that's not okay. So I held it because I was so nervous and scared to go. I didn't understand what was going on, and it was kind of freaky. Not knowing though that that's just what you do. You just go to the bathroom outside, which was really hard for me at first. That was a funny experience I had the first day. But when we got to Kumasi, my trainer was there waiting for me. All the trainers were there waiting for us coming up. And it was also transfer day, and so a bunch of missionaries were there at the bus station because some missionaries were taking a bus down south. Some of them came up with us new missionaries up north. And I met a lot of my first experience of seeing like real missionaries for the first time. That's what I thought of them, at least. Dirty name tags and stuff. Knew that they'd been there a while. And we got there probably about 7 or 8 in the evening, and so it was already dark outside. And I remember we had to charter a taxi to get to our apartment. And it was really nerve-wracking because it's just these ghetto taxis, and there's no set prices on anything, and so you just have to barter with everybody on everything. And so I remember sitting there listening to my trainer barter with the taxi driver and just thinking like, whoa, I can never do that. It was really nerve-wracking. Driving through the taxi to our apartment, I just knew that I was just somewhere different. It's sort of hard to explain.
The Ghana MTC is actually in the Ghana Accra mission, and so it was like a 10-minute drive for us to our mission home. So it was really interesting that morning. They just woke us up at 6 in the morning and was like, we're going to see your mission president, and then we just drove down the highway, or sort of highway, and we got to our mission home, which is right across the street from the Ghana temple. And he then proceeded to interview us and to talk to us and to welcome us into the field. And then we went to the West Africa area office, which was right across the road again, close to the temple. And we had our meeting where we then received our trainers that day. And so it just moved kind of quickly. I wasn't expecting it. I thought it would be a little bit of a travel to get there, but it was just so quick. We were at the mission home by 7, and we were getting our companions by 2 in the afternoon and heading out to our areas. So when the church was first organized, it was first organized in Ghana in 1985 is when the mission was organized. But the first branch was organized in the 1970s about. And it was organized in Accra, actually, in where the temple now stands, in that general area. It was called the Christiansborg branch. And so now today, after that started, the church has spread throughout Ghana, but mostly throughout Accra, because that's where it kind of started. And so the first stakes were organized some years later in Tema and Takoradi. Takoradi is in Cape Coast, but Tema is in Accra in my mission. And so it was kind of interesting to be able to watch the growth. At one point, the Africa West Area Presidency even told us that our mission was growing the fastest stake-wise. I was able to witness so many organizations of wards and branches and splits and all sorts of stuff. The Tema stake was split while I was there into the Ashaman stake. I was able to witness the split of every single ward I served in, and I served in 7 wards, and so I was able to see every single one of them split while I was there in 2 years, and I've even heard that they're even getting ready to split some more. And so there are now, I believe, about 4 stakes in Ghana, and I believe 3 branches that are run by the mission president. The Adenta stake, the Tema stake, the Ashaman stake, and the Christiansborg stake. And then there's the Ho district, the Koforidua district, and the Pong district. And we just actually received word at our mission reunion that the Koforidua district is preparing to become a stake now. And the Pong district, they're also preparing to make a stake, and they're looking for places for stake buildings. And so the church is growing very fast in the short little time that we've been there since 1985. As for religion, Ghanaians are very, very, very religious. I believe they're one of the top religious countries in the world, just because of how much they love God and different things. You can't go anywhere without hearing something. One of my favorite phrases that I'd hear every day was in their language they say Nyami Adam, which means by God's grace or God's grace. And they say it to you everywhere. You ask them how they're doing, they say by God's grace I'm doing fine, or but in the name of Jesus I'm doing fine. It's always there. Even somebody you think wouldn't be religious, you still hear that. And they're just a very religious Christian people. But there's also Muslims there. And so they work together, which is the first time I've ever seen Christians and Muslims work together. But they just love being with each other. And even the Muslims believe in Jesus Christ, which was something I didn't understand, but they just love it. The only problem is, or only thing is they have so many different branches of faith. The rule in the White Handbook where it said you can't preach next to a house of worship, that's nearly impossible, because there's one in every corner. Several of my apartments, there were 3 churches, different churches around our house. They'd be up in the morning praying and you could hear them. And so it wasn't like their culture and I'd say their culture is their religion, is what they believe. That's what basically makes their culture. They like to see what's in the Bible, and that's how they build their culture. Like, they have so many different little quirky things, like you can't use your left hand, and it says that in the Bible, you use your right hand, it's your covenant hand, and so it's bad for you to use your left hand in anything over there because of that. And so just those different things of how they put religion together. It made it also difficult for us as missionaries, but they're ready to accept the truth. They're just looking for the truth. That's why they go from place to place looking for it. And what I would say is just like connecting everything together. Because at the beginning of my mission, I figured this out the last few weeks, but really the entire gospel is like connected in a remarkable way. And Ghanaians, they just see different things like, oh, here's the commandments, here's this, here's that, here's this, here's this. They just haven't connected all the pieces together. So many things you'll teach them and they'll say, oh yeah, I kind of believe that. I know that's true, but I've never heard it before. The remembrance thing of the premortal life. But once we were able to help them get it all connected, they were like, oh, okay, I get it. And so just helping them to connect pieces. And then, of course, helping them to accept the Book of Mormon, because that's something that's kind of weird to them. They're very curious and a very superstitious people. And so if you pull out the Book of Mormon, they're like, devil book, I ain't touching that thing. And so just helping them to understand that the Book of Mormon was not something from the devil, helping them to figure that out, and then helping them to connect all the pieces of the gospel. Just help them to figure it out. That Joseph Smith was a prophet. When they figured that out, when they understood that Moses was called the same way, the other prophets in the Bible were called the same way. And so that's what really helped them to learn the gospel and to love it. And they love the plan of salvation, especially the part about life after death, because that's something that they don't know too much about. You see posters all over the place, obituary posters that say, oh, what a shock, this person is dead, or something like that. And it's just something that you can tell hurts them. And they end up getting drunk and partying when they when they have a funeral. And so just them having that comfort of there's life after death just really helps them out, and that's something they love, want to have. Something that really helps them is you have to be persistent with them to get to church, because they go to so many different other churches. And so a common excuse you'll hear is, oh, I have my church, which really, if you look at it, they know they're lost. They just don't want to leave their friends and family. And so we found that just getting fellowshippers for those those investigators and the people everywhere. If you can get the members engaged to go and just be with the people that you're teaching, then they'll come to church, because they rely on friends a lot. They know each other. They're like family. They call everyone their brother and sister. So you got to ask them, is it your biological brother or sister or your friend? Say, oh, it's my friend. And so if you can get the members to be friends with them and you can become friends with them, they'll come to church and they'll start to get the ball rolling to where they'll become converted. So I served from October 2013 to October 2015. And so my areas, let's see. So I served in an area called Senchi 2, which consisted of 3 cities, Atimpoku, Japong, and Akosimbo, and actually 4, Tosca. I was forgetting that one. And then my second area was a place called Nungwa. My third area was a place called Bethlehem. My fourth area was called the Klagon. My fifth area was called Lashibi, which was the same ward, but I was just transferred across the river. And then I was transferred to a place called Asuchuari, and then I was transferred back to Nungwa to finish my mission.
So my parents dropped me off at the airport, and it's just exciting, like, yeah, we're gonna go on a mission. We're going to Africa. Everyone's looking at us weird, And then we landed in Ghana, and I experienced major culture shock. Going from America. We flew from New York, big, America City, to Accra in Ghana, the capital, and just night and day difference. Just the poverty that you kind of see, and people are speaking so fast that you don't understand them. You're away from home. I remember we were driving from the airport to the MTC, and I just remember sitting there and just going, oh my gosh, what am I getting myself into? Because you see pictures, but nothing is like when you're there. And I was in the MTC. It was my first night. I was praying, and I told Heavenly Father, you made a mistake. I'm not supposed to be here at all. I'm supposed to go to Europe, or I'm supposed to just stay in the States somewhere. I'm not supposed to be here. But I remember in that prayer afterward that I heard a voice in my head tell me, I don't make mistakes. And I just took that and go, okay, I guess I'll stay. I'll stick through it, and went through the MTC. Okay, excited just to finally become a missionary. some challenges with my companion and just culture differences, but I learned a lot, and that's when I learned in the MTC that I would be going to Liberia, because I'd always thought I was going to Sierra Leone, and I knew nothing about Liberia at all. And so it's just like, oh my gosh, our mission president at the MTC, he said, "Oh, you guys, you are the pioneers." And in my mind, I'm like, I'm not the pioneer, I'm a guinea pig. But now looking back on it, I realized that he was right. We were pioneers. We were like the pioneers that crossed the plains, settled in the valley. You don't really know what's going to happen, but you're laying the foundation for something greater to come along.